All right, welcome back to the Horizon Media Group podcast. I'm Rob, once again joined by...
I'm Dalton.
And we are here in the HMG Beauty and Style studios once again. And we've got some cool stuff to talk about that kind of transpired while we were on our hiatus from the podcast that we were wanting to talk about. And so really there's been, I kind of would like to, talk about this that we're about to talk about, which is DSLRs are dead.
Yep.
Okay, so that's going to be a little bit more technical for like the folks in the industry, folks that are interested in content, media creation, primarily photography. I mean, that's who it primarily, impacts is photography.
Yeah.
But then also for the more casual folks, I would also like to go into some stuff that people can do maybe if they don't have access, because we're going to be talking about some expensive equipment, professional equipment, right? But also for casual folks, stuff that they could do with the phones and the equipment that they have right now, and things that they can maybe, if they want to invest, but maybe not want to invest in a full-on dang mirrorless camera, stuff that they can do on their own, improvements that they can make like that. I already have some stuff in mind that they could do. I probably should have ran that by you first to let you be thinking on it too.
It's all good.
But yeah, so that's some stuff that we'll be talking about. So a little something for everybody. That's how we like to do it here at HMG.
Yes, sir.
I also have a little bit of sinus stuff going on. So if I sound like Squidward, that's why. Dalton didn't put a weird voice. Dalton didn't put a weird voice thing on me, which I don't know. He may put that in editing, but
I'll just make it really bad in post.
Yes. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Just really hit hard on that. So, DSLRs are dead. What does that mean? That's pretty a clickbaity title, but it's kind of true. So
okay, so I have a couple notes here about that. So it all started, like this whole DSLRs are dead thing. It's I saw it on No Film School. I think I saw it on Twitter first, and then I saw it like all over the place. Once you see it one place, you see it everywhere, right?
Yes.
And so I read their article. I forget who wrote it, but it was a really good piece about just like the stopping of the creation of casual DSLRs for a general audience by the three big hitters in the camera industry. So we've got Sony, Nikon, and Canon, right?
Yep.
And so Sony actually stopped creating DSLR cameras in 2016, and they stopped selling them in 2021, so just last year. But they've had so much success and so much positivity come from all of their mirrorless camera lines with the AS7, or is it the A7?
A7 III.
A7 III is the new one.
I think so.
But so they've had so much success with all these mirrorless cameras that they just decided, especially in 2016, they decided we're not making these anymore because mirrorless is going to be the future. Mm-hmm. And so they were ahead of everybody. And then Nikon right now is focusing on their Z series, which is their mirrorless series. I don't really know anybody who still shoots on Nikon. Nikon was big in like the early 2000s because they kind of coined like the DSLR photography kind of movement. I don't know. It was a weird kind of time where Nikon was the thing to have, and then now it's like a dated kind of thing. You don't really see anybody who's taken seriously, consistently shooting on Nikon. It's mostly either
Canon or out there. I'm sure there are some really good.
I'm sure there are. I just
Nikon.
don't know them.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
To be fair, yeah. I'm sorry if you like Nikon. My mom shot Nikon whenever I was playing baseball growing up, and it was a good camera for whenever I was in elementary school.
Gotcha.
Back then. Anyways, I digress. And Canon just recently announced that their next like DSLR will be their last. So they have one more DSLR coming out, and the thing is, it's like, it's just the technology shifting. It's more than that. So the thing with that is lenses are going to be changing forever. Canon has stopped producing EF lenses, like for those of you watching on YouTube, the one that I'm holding in my hand, which happens to be the mount that we use for pretty much everything except for, I want to say, the 50.
The 50? The 50 mil?
I believe the Nifty 50 that's currently on the 1DX is
that's EF.
That's EF?
What is that? What is the other one? 4/3 or EFS?
EFS,
that one, yeah.
We have one EFS.
That one.
Is it that one? Okay.
Yes.
We have one EFS lens here. And so they're stopping production on all those. It's all going to be things that are going to be extremely close to the sensor because they don't have to worry about a mirror and distance between the lens and the sensor. They don't have to worry about that anymore. So now, like, some of these lenses are going to become dated. And sure, there'll always be, adapters to put your old vintage lenses on, you know, your new mirrorless cameras and stuff, which that's fine. And that'll be cool and they'll work and whatnot. But that means that if you switch to a mirrorless, you're either getting an adapter and just using your vintage lenses at that point, or you're having to go out and get a whole new set of lenses, which that's a big expense, right? And so
it is need to be noted. So like this is just Canon RF, right? That's the new mount for mirrorless RF.
I believe so, yeah.
It does need to be noted that they just by themselves are very expensive.
Yeah.
But they are sweet. Like they're nice.
That's the thing. And so that's the kicker to all this, right? Is that the mirrorless technology is so good. Sony proved it whenever they started making these back in, I believe it was 15, they started making the mirrorless cameras. Sony proved it then because that was whenever people really started jumping on the Sony bandwagon, was whenever they made this whole big mirrorless camera announcement. And there were some people who were really about it and some people who were like, it's a fad.
Yep.
Clearly it wasn't a fad. Clearly this is the direction that we're taking for the future for the DSLR-esque kind of brand of film and photo, right?
Yes.
My only fear about all this is that the barrier to entry for young creators is going to be so much higher now, because we're going to go through a weird shift in the next, I want to say 5 to 10 years, where casual DSLRs are still accessible, they're still, you know, passable, they're still fine, but it's one of those that like they're just fine. They're not great, they're not super good, you know, they're just passable, right? And so then you're going to have this next generation of creators who are probably in elementary school right now that they're going to be shooting everything on, you know, at that point, like the iPhone 18, right? Whenever they start to get really introduced to it. But then whenever they want to take that next step, you're either taking a step backwards by going and getting a vintage DSLR at that point, or you're going to have to spend a ton of money for your first camera, because these mirrorless cameras aren't going to get cheaper. I seriously doubt that there will be a cheap and affordable alternative to a mirrorless camera that would resemble like how there's the Canon 1DX and the Canon 5D, right? And that's like the really nice DSLRs. But then you have the Canon 70D and the Rebel series with like the SL2 and the T3Is and things like that are affordable, not necessarily cheap, but affordable alternatives for young creators especially, and just new creators that want to get into the medium, and they're great tools to learn on.
Yes.
With mirrorless becoming like the big thing and getting rid of all these DSLR programs or DSLR pieces of equipment, cameras, right? That window from where you go from I'm interested in this to I'm starting to have an understanding of this completely goes away. It's going to be one of those that you start on. Everyone's going to have to start on an iPhone now. That is the smallest barrier, or the lowest barrier to entry is the iPhone.
Yep.
And so you're going to go in the future, these young creators are going to go from their iPhone to the Sony A7 13 or A7 8, right?
Yep.
Mirrorless camera. That's like an $8,000 camera at that point, because the cameras aren't going to get cheaper. I mean, inflation's going to continue to happen, right?
Yep.
And the cameras are going to get nicer, so they're going to be worth more. So then that's going to be the thing that they jump to. I mean, sure, you could always, you know, in what year? It's 2022 right now.
Yes.
In 2030, whenever some of these young kids who are in elementary school that become creators at some point, whenever they start to get into it, sure, they could go and get, you know, the original Canon R mirrorless camera, and sure, it'll have gone down in price by then, but maybe the mounts change by then, because it just can.
Yeah.
And there's going to be so much just lost learning space from the iPhone to this super nice mirrorless camera that will inevitably be the like course of progression for the next generation of creators. I think it's weird.
I wonder. Yeah. And I think it is. I think it's important to look at why mirrorless is taking over from DSLR. And it's just kind of the progression there of, you know, things that are very valuable to creators that, you know, a lot of times people say, so one a good example is electronic viewfinders that are actually usable.
Yeah.
So whenever you're, you know, for the layperson, you know, whenever you're looking through the viewfinder, it actually, shows what image is going to come out with your exposure and all those things and your f-stop and all that. Like it gives you a real representation of what you're seeing. In a normal DSLR, you don't have that.
Right.
You have just the glass looking through the lens. And so, things like that, things like being able to shoot silently. So, at news conferences, weddings, whatever, being able to shoot silently, autofocus points, being able to put not instead of just a section, it's going to be across your whole sensor, which is going to be crazy cool. Just all these things that really help the professional, in ways that, that DSLR just is capped out. Right. And then, so that is one thing to kind of look at is a lot of the improvements, and the reason why I think these companies are moving is because they're able to add more value to the professional scene. I don't know of any benefits for the mirrorless world that, obviously all these things are great to have as a prosumer.
Oh, I would love to have one right now for where we are. I would love to have
for sure.
A nice mirrorless camera.
As we move forward, we're going to be buying mirrorless cameras. Well, one, because that's just what they're going to make, but as well as that's what, they have all the cool tools and stuff.
Right.
I wouldn't say necessarily that those improvements on the mirrorless, and this is where we could debate a little bit, are directly benefiting the hobbyist or the prosumer as much enough to warrant, like, I guess all those new changes and tweaks are based on professionals, which is reflected in the purchase price.
Right.
I would venture to say with the improvement of these phones, that if they were to get a base level DSLR now for $700-800 plus a decent lens, because the kit lenses are tough a lot of times.
Yeah.
To be fair. And a decent lens, that they would be better off getting a new phone and then getting, this thing shoots RAW.
Yeah.
And you could get attachable lenses, you get whatever. So I'm wondering if these companies are looking and they're seeing the whole section of that market being taken over by the phones. Now it does stink when you think of a creator anecdotally, and with me and you coming up and getting our beginner DSLRs, and you're like, okay, I feel like I'm real. I feel like I could charge somebody now because I can change the lenses on this mug.
Right. Yeah.
And then you show up to a photo shoot. They don't know that, it's a $800 camera. They just know, one, the image that they're getting, and two, it's not a cell phone, which means, so it's going to be hard for those people who want to get their feet wet and seeing oh, I can make money with this. It's going to be a lot different going up to a dang, maybe a dentist office to shoot headshots for somebody, and you show up with your phone.
Oh yeah, don't worry. I can shoot your headshots. I have the iPhone 13. The dentist got the iPhone 13 too. They can go get a ring light from the salon next door.
And even then, the DSLR that you would have had, this SL2 right here, this is probably we can make it look good. If you know how to use a DSLR, if you know how to use a camera, you can make this camera a professional on this camera versus a novice on one of these more expensive cameras. The professional will do better with a cheaper camera.
Yeah. Every time.
But, the thought is, someone who's getting their feet wet, they would probably be able to get a better image out of the camera with this straight out the bat.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the tough part, is I think it's going to, like you said, really hamstring some folks, and there's just a sense of progression going from, it's just hard to build it's hard to build something to be I am a photographer now, or whatever, whenever you're just shooting on your phone. I don't know why. I think it's because everybody has a phone.
I think that's the big thing, that's the big stigma. I know you can shoot professional photos on the newest iPhones.
Yeah.
I've done it.
Yeah.
I've edited in Lightroom raw photos that I've shot on my iPhone.
Yes.
And they look damn good if you don't mind.
Yeah.
They look good. But there's something missing. There's a level of depth that's missing, even in portrait mode, even with cinematic mode. It looks beautiful. That's a big selling point for me as somebody who films every day on my phone. Having cinematic mode, portrait mode, raw, all these great tools. That's a great thing. But I'd still rather shoot on my C200.
There's a level of control that is taken away with these, and you can get apps, you could change specific settings.
They never work the way you want to.
Not the way you want them to. And then so that's where actually honing your craft and stuff, and that's where it's going to be hard, is do you want to make that $8,000 jump? And I would be surprised if they don't have, eventually some sort of line that comes through that strips away a lot of the really cool, things that make us professionals want to buy those new DS or the new mirrorless. I would be surprised if they don't have something like that, and it's just so stripped down once they capture that professional market in the mirrorless. So I fully anticipate something like that coming along. But for right now, it's going to stink. For the next 5 years, it's going to stink for, people who are learning and wanting to get into it.
Yeah.
It's going to stink. But until then, these DSLRs are still going to be around. You're still going to be able to buy them.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you'll be able to buy them for a good bit of time. But like I said, they're just going to be passable.
Yeah. And
like,
then so
they're not going to be stunning.
And all these things, all these benefits that come with mirrorless, compared to a DSLR are shifted and geared towards professionals. So at that point, like right now, the folks who are going to be buying mirrorless cameras can afford it because that's what they make their living with.
Right.
So, it will stink for the next 5 years. I fully anticipate seeing a product line. They'd be crazy not to, because I think there is a market for that. Just because, like, yes, these phones can get you started. But like, if you're wanting to go and try to make a run at it, I think no photographer went from their phone to their, $8,000, Mark.
What is it? The
1DX.
5D Mark 5 or something now?
Yeah, or 1DX Mark 3.
Mark 3, yeah.
Which are, those top of the line. Like, you gradually work your way up. That's just how it goes. So now, instead of having one or two smaller steps to get up, now you just got to jump to the third step or something like that.
Yeah, you skip step 2.
Yeah.
I think that was the whole, like, point that I was trying to get across was like, I know whenever I started with, not even on the iPhone necessarily, because whenever I was getting into film and video and stuff like that, it was the iPhone 3, which, I had a camera and that was about it. You could take square pictures to put on Instagram. But I started with like a crappy little camcorder, like the original Canon Vixia.
Yep.
And so you have like some kind of controls there. There was a manual setting on there that you started to learn. And so I used that for pretty much all of 8th grade through senior year of high school. And then I got the Canon 70D where, I started to learn more about lenses and what different lenses can do, the kind of looks that you can get with a wide, a medium, a tight, telephoto kind of lens, all kinds of stuff like that. And also had a manual setting, so you're not completely reliant on auto everything. You actually get to grow as a creator and as an artist, and you get to learn and teach yourself a little bit, right?
Yep.
Then obviously now I've moved up to the big boy camera game and have a Canon C200.
Yep.
And that's what we shoot basically everything on now. And so that progression now is going to be,
it's going to be different.
Completely negate the camcorder and the DSLR. And you're going to go from for video, right? Kids are going to go from shooting everything on iPhone 13, 14, 15 for the next few years. And after they're done shooting on their iPhone with cinematic mode, then you're going to jump to either a Canon C series or the Sony like FS series for like cinema cameras. Or you're going to have some nutty kids who go straight into like RE and Red, and those guys are nuts.
Until there is that middle ground that pops up, which I'm sure there will be, because there are a lot of casual photographers who, I think right now it's just they're trying to see what they could squeeze out of this mirrorless platform.
Yeah.
For the professionals, because those are the ones you want to capture are the, I'm a Canon shooter, I make a living on with Canon, I'm going to buy Canon lenses, whatever.
Yeah.
So once they get and they can see like, okay, well, this is the max. Now what can we strip away to make it more consumer friendly? I think so 5 to 10 years, that's going to be the case. You're going to have people shoot on the phones. And to be fair, the timing's really interesting because in the past 3 years, maybe 2 years is whenever you could actually get by with shooting on your phone. Until then, it was not feasible. I would say 1 or 2 years, actually.
I'm thinking the iPhone 10 was the first one with portrait mode.
Yeah, but even then, you could tell it's portrait mode. Like, I would say maybe 1 or 2 years.
Maybe the 11, I'd say probably the earliest.
Yeah.
The 12 definitely had, like, good signs. Dude, this 13's camera is nuts.
Yeah,
though.
the 13, it's pretty cool. So, all that to say we're talking to someone who is in that boat now, right? They don't want to spend that much on a mirrorless, okay? But they do have a decent phone and they want to get creating content, or they're already creating content, photos, videos, whatever. Do you have any tips on how to improve the quality and, the professionalism of their content right now?
If you're shooting on iPhone strictly.
Or even a basic level DSLR or something.
First things first, for photographers everywhere who are either shooting just on a new gen iPhone, so iPhone 12 or 13, or on a basic DSLR, don't shoot JPEGs, shoot in RAW. Go into your settings and shoot in RAW. Always. That's
free.
It's free. It's free.
Yeah.
It's super easy. You can literally Google search. If you can't figure it out, Google search your camera's name, how to insert camera name, shoot in RAW.
Yep. And these newest iPhones can shoot in RAW, or is that just the Pro?
I don't know about the 12. I'm pretty sure the 13, all of them can.
Okay. So in those, you just go into your iPhone settings, go into camera, and then it'll be like, what format of the photo do you want? Then you select RAW. And what that does is essentially shoots a flat profile of the picture, and it allows you a lot more flexibility in post to change what you want to change.
It makes it in a digital format as close to real film as you can get.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's how it was taught to me. At this point, that may be wrong, but that was my understanding of it whenever I was being taught, is that by shooting in RAW, you're putting yourself in the closest situation that you would be shooting on real RAW film.
Yeah. And there's just so much more data in that format for you to manipulate is the big thing. So, little corrections are a lot easier. So, if you want to bring down just the exposure of maybe, some of these specific highlights and it just looks really blown out, you have the ability to do that. It saves a lot of your darker tones. So that way you'll be able to, things aren't blacked out. If you want to bring up the shadows a little bit, it gives you a lot more flexibility.
Yeah.
So you're able to shoot it and, as you're learning, you're not going to get your everything, all the settings right in the first go. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility to fix those mistakes in post.
Right.
I would say that's a free tip, which is great. Okay. I would say if you're looking to invest some money, lighting.
Definitely.
Lighting to me was like the biggest breakthrough for anything like creative that I've ever, that was my biggest breakthrough. And it makes sense when you think about it this way. Cameras are just capturing light.
Yeah.
And so photography and videography, they can make it a lot more complex than things get a lot more complex than this. But if you look at it, if you learn to shape light, you're going to get better in products.
Yeah, 100%.
Photos and videos. If you learn how to manipulate light, you're learning how to manipulate your videos and photos.
Yeah. And if you don't believe us, go outside whenever it's dark out tonight with your camera and try to take a clean picture of somebody's face. Now go out whenever it's daylight and try to take a clean picture of somebody's face. Point proven.
Or go out, and then if you don't want to buy a light, just get a little diffuser and go out in the sunlight, take it in the harsh sunlight. You got really crazy shadows all over your face. They look really bad, but then you put a diffuser in front of the sun or any other light,
and you get nice, pretty,
really nice, soft. So that, I would say lighting, there's no excuse now. Amazon has like some really good lighting options that are
I think some of the lights
cheap.
we have on set right now came from Amazon.
Yeah,
I know for
great.
a fact that one is.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's an older one.
Yeah.
Or that's yours, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, lighting is key because, photography and video are just capturing light.
Yeah. That's a great way of putting that.
So
by the way.
Thank you. So if you can manipulate it, you are leaps and bounds ahead of where I was when I started, whenever I was like, I need a new lens to make this look good, or I need a new camera to make this look good. It's like, no, it's still just capturing light.
Yeah.
So if you can manipulate the light and you can get the lighting the way you want it, you are 75% there. And then the rest is just in the details of camera or whatever. So if you have a professional that knows how to manipulate light and light things correctly, they will, or a novice will outshoot somebody who doesn't know how to do that, every day of the week.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that's cool. I was really wanting to hit like DSLRs are dead, and what is that word?
Implementation.
The implications that came from that. And then also I wanted to give some stuff to, the folks who are maybe not as technically advantaged as far as like having crazy cameras and stuff. Or
I think just one like last thing for like novices, new creators, young creators, people just getting interested into it, like don't be afraid to make a piece of garbage.
Yes.
Like your first X amount of projects or your first X amount of trials are not going to be good.
Yep.
The point is from project 1 to 2, did you get better?
Yes.
There you go. That's all that matters. From 1 to 2, if you got better, then you're improving, and that's a success. From 2 to 3, if you got better, you're improving, that's a success. So on and so on and so forth. I'm still in that boat to this day.
It never stops. As a company, that's where we're at too. I mean, we're looking at projects like a few months ago, I was like, oh, I wish we would have done it this way because we've learned a new technique.
Oh,
we're starting to do this.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the fun of it, honestly. And that's what makes it, something that you can do for forever, for your whole life. And it's a journey. And, I'm a big sentimental guy. Journey's the destination. I don't know.
Yeah.
Trying to think of something to put on a poster, but
it's not about the final destination. It's about the trip there.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Garth Brooks, but yeah.
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
Have you ever seen, I think it's like a meme that it's like when the road trip's more fun than the vacation.
Honestly.
That's a good way of putting it.
It is. But, I would 100% agree. And, if you put yourself in a position that you like just have to put stuff out, I mean, that's huge. I mean, we were both talking like our journeys through, we both had like commitments that we had to make stuff.
Yeah.
Whether it was to ourselves or to, to an organization or whatever, like you just have to make it. And I would say, don't go selling something and if you're not ready to produce it yet.
Definitely not.
But say you want to vlog and be like, I want to vlog every day. You vlogged every day.
Yeah.
For me, I was going to vlog for UT and like do this series for UT or whatever. And like, as long as you are able to hold yourself accountable and actually create, like that is how you learn. Doing it is how you learn.
If there's any end goal for an artist of any profession, I think it's to being able to finally always be able to get the vision that's in your mind onto the screen or onto paper or whatever it is.
Whatever medium you're
exactly. To get it from here to there perfectly. Yep. When you can do that 10 times straight,
you're on the right track.
Then you're done.
Yeah. And I think that is a good place to stop on. What do you think?
I think so too.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for another HMG podcast. I'm Rob.
And I'm Dalton.
And thank you guys for joining us. Please check us out on our socials. Check us out on Instagram and TikTok. Right?
Facebook.
Yep. We're going to be hitting up a lot of more short form videos. So make sure you guys stop by, drop us a like, comment. We'll try to comment back. So.
Yeah. We have a link tree now, so there's no excuse.
True.
Link tree's got Smoky Mountain Secrets, HMG Podcast, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I think the website.
Yeah. It's got everything.
Bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Go check it out for yourself and tell us if we left anything out.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. All right, cool. Sounds good. We'll see you guys later.
All for you.